All right, hello, welcome everybody. Happy Friday, I guess. I'm Tom. We're here with George. What's happening, George?
Nothing.
Nothing today, something yesterday.
What happened yesterday?
Well, you did something yesterday.
Oh, I've already forgot. It's been a whole day. I forgot already.
It's one day later. We'll get to that. George attended an event yesterday. He did see one of our members there as well. So, who I also see in the chat.
Do you want an easy way to create?
So I'm trying to be able to read the
the chat.
Yeah, so I got a different thing. Cleanspark, woohoo!
All right, Cleanspark to 100 has a member comment. He's been a member for 12 months or 1 year. Thank you for being a member. George, nice meeting you and your son during the Cleanspark Investor Day at their Immersion cooling facility. It was a great experience seeing my first mining site. All right, so Cleanspark to 100 attended the Cleanspark event, as did George. I know though they ran into each other and got to meet, so that was awesome.
Good time, good guy. Great guy. You're a great man, buddy. That was really interesting. It was funny because they broke it up into different people. There's only about 50 people there.
Really?
Yeah, and then Isaac is the guy who facilitates everything for Cleanspark, the PR manager, right?
Yeah, I guess he has a little nicer title than that, but essentially that's what he is.
So he at the end of it, he introduces me to Matt, right? And Matt goes like this to me. He goes, oh, this is George. You know, George and Tom were talking investing. He goes, yeah, I know who he is. I'm like, hey, man, it's all good. And he didn't really want to talk to me.
That's funny.
That was funny.
George shared some of his thoughts on some owner stock sales prior to the last.
It was bad form. I don't care what anybody says. It was bad form.
You are on record, and you're not alone.
And I'm not changing my opinion. And I even said that to everybody there. It's just bad form. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, hey, listen, I'm not saying I wouldn't have done the same thing. You know what I mean? But when I'm down at the bottom looking up, I don't like it.
Yeah. It wasn't a good look in that short-term period of time. But Cleanspark, I think, is a favorite here overall amongst members, subscribers, and it is my largest holding, just for disclosure.
Brad, it was nice to meet you too. I met another guy who watches the show too.
Oh, nice.
No, yeah, we couldn't get him across to the member side, but
not yet.
It was, but I will tell you that it was I was trying to say this. It's just a rah. You know what I mean? Cleanspark's the best type of meeting. And, it wasn't they couldn't give us any tidbits because, that's not what these meetings are for.
No, I mean, they can't give you any new information necessarily, but it is nice to go see with your own eyes. And I know you've already been to one of their facilities. So that's a couple now.
What is amazing, though, is how quiet it is, Tom.
The immersion cooling stuff is quiet.
I go this. Yeah, I go to my son. My son's like, this is so much easier than a server farm. He's like, Bitcoin mining is so much easier than actually have a data farm. He goes, because a data farm, you just have so many more responsibilities. You just have one line coming in, one fiber optics to mine Bitcoin. That's it. And he goes, think about it. There's not really a lot of traffic.
Well, and the immersion cooling is a game changer with the noise because there have been a lot of the facilities where the local communities, if you can't necessarily put the air cooling facility data centers, in the middle of a densely populated area.
Jeff, it's funny you say that about Rex Finance. Rex Finance is kind of I don't know if he doesn't want to meet me or something like that. I've seen him in 5 or 6 different things in the course of doing this show. And he just never really wants to say hi to me. So C'est la vie, brother. C'est la vie. I look at this one is that I'll talk to anybody. I don't care. You know what I mean? Who cares? I just want everybody to do well and help people make money in this whole crazy world that we're trying to live in this investment times.
I'll vouch for that. George will talk to anybody, all the way to the point where I know if we're driving around and it's time to get gas, I know the stop to the gas station could be anywhere from 4 minutes to an hour because I can't tell you how many times he struck up a conversation with the guy next to us getting gas and made a connection, a business connection, or just a friend or whatever. So George is a people person, big time.
And it's crazy, that's how we have to be. I think, it's really important, especially nowadays, because you just don't know what's in people's heads anymore. And I've had some really interesting gas station conversations. Matter of fact, the one guy, Tom, he reached out to me the other day.
See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm not making that stuff up when I say it.
No, because think about how hard this world is right now. Forget finance. I'm just talking about the world in general. People are getting convicted. People are they don't know up from down, left from right.
It's a mad, mad world.
It is. That's a good song too, by the way.
This is my moment to ask everybody to please smash the like button. We have 34 likes. We're going for starters. Let's get to 100 if we can. Help the stream out. Helps us in real time. Help us, help you, help us. Yes.
Where are we going with Bitcoin?
Where are we going? Where have we gone? They messed with us this week. I left a line on here. So if you guys should be able to see the 15-minute chart, and there's a dotted gold line right here. So because today was a bad day. So I'll start by saying, we were all the way up. Yesterday at the peak, we were up around 69,500. And then, as usual, sometime just before the market opened, we moved down a little bit. And then this was the opening candle of the market. So, and these are in the 15 minutes. So starting with the opening candle of the market, it was just big red candle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. And then it, bottomed out in the middle of the day. So this felt awful. But all of this put together, I left this line on here. This is where Bitcoin was when the U.S. equity markets closed 2 days ago. So Wednesday. So and here's where we closed today. This 15-minute candle right here. So today felt awful, and it was awful, to that extent that it was, basically down in a straight line for a long time, but down all the way back to where we were, not yesterday, but the day before. So, but this is the vicious nature of volatility because it felt awful all day. It just, especially, going into the market, you wake up in the morning, you see things moving up. We're back. We're hitting 69,000 and then whammy. So they suck the life out of you. This is how they get people to sell their Bitcoin. This is how they get people to sell their Bitcoin mining stocks, and in the end, all we did is have a nice up day on Thursday. And then, on Friday, go back to where we were the day before. So this. I mean, you guys, how did you feel through this? I feel it on days like I didn't do anything today. I didn't buy anything. I didn't sell anything. But these days are just, I have to myself literally pull the charts up and look and zoom out and look at the 4 hour and the 1 day and remind myself, oh yeah, this was 2 days ago.
I think it's just going to be like this for the next. Wow. I can't even imagine. What do you think? 60, 90?
I think they could easily do this to us yes. And, they could do this for another 90 days and it would still be very in line with what has happened after previous Bitcoin halvings. So, this is that period where they really get a lot of people, and the part of the reason is, even as we sit here right now, just because, all the previous Bitcoin halvings, it did not the run up in Bitcoin did not correspond to, the day of the halving. There was some period of time after, sometimes as much as 6 or 8 months after. And So you can look at that two different ways. You can say, okay, well, let's be patient because, that's how this works. But you also got to bear in mind, the reality is there's no guarantee that the exact same thing is going to happen this cycle. Now, the cycles have been very similar, and this one seems to be playing out. Because of the ETFs, I think we got a little bit of an accelerated move to the upside a little bit early. We hit a new all-time high before the halving. That's the first time that ever happened. But now, to your point, George, we're now 3 months into just bouncing around sideways. I'm going to go to the 1 day. I don't think there's any other way to describe this. This breakout was in February. This last giant, this is the 1 day candle. This last 1 day candle that kind of took us up to this trading range was on February 28th. So all of March, all of April, and now all of May, because today is the last day of May. That is 90 days. That's 3 months, inside this range. And we're really kind of in the middle of this range. Now, this feels a lot better than, here we did bounce off the bottom on May 1st. So May was a good month. Bitcoin was up 10 or 11 or 12% in the month of May. So this was a great month for Bitcoin. It was actually a phenomenal month for the Bitcoin miners. I'm going to show you guys that chart in a little while. But this week did break the trend. The Bitcoin miners did not have a great week. They took a rest. They took a pause. There was a little pullback. We've been inside of, the previous 5.5 weeks. The Bitcoin miners were on a nice run. Well, with only a couple of exceptions, there was a pause this week. Can anybody guess which Bitcoin miner had the best week this week?
I'm going with Bitfarms.
You are correct. It was Bitfarms, and the week started out with a bang, with Riot essentially announcing to the public that they put an offer in to buy Bitfarms, and a lot of information unfolded. The initial offer actually came in, I think, April 22nd privately. It was not disclosed to the public. It was rejected, and they went public with this. It feels like maybe Monday or Tuesday at the beginning of the week. I have the here. What day was this? Yeah, so this was May 28th. So that was Tuesday morning. They announced Riot has acquired a 9.25% stake. So the headline, Riot proposes to acquire Bitfarms for $2.30 per share. And this is a proposal of a 100% buyout. So this would be, no more Bitfarms. It would all be Riot. They've already bought 9.25%. And then the next, I don't know if it was the next day or the day after, they announced they bought another 0.75% to get themselves up to a full 10% ownership. So they are the largest owner. Riot is the largest owner of Bitfarms. They have this $2.30 offer in. Bitfarms did actually, for a little while, yesterday or the day before, it popped up over $2.30 to like $2.32 maybe. But for the most part, I believe that, for as long as this is going on, this kind of puts a ceiling and a floor in on Bitfarms. I don't think you're going to see monumental trading. Somewhere between $2.15 and $2.32 or $2.35, unless some new information comes to light.
Yeah, when do you think Riot's going to come alive again?
The stock?
Yes.
Well, now they've got this extra piece, but I don't think that's going to be the catalyst for Riot. Riot has talked about big growth plans. So to me, over the next 90 days, assuming
today, it's the end of the month.
Today's the last day of the month. So next week, we're going to get, most of these companies, we're going to get their operational update.
Right. They're going to get wrecked. Remember, they were only putting a bunch online.
I know. That's going to be the first thing we're going to see. So in April, they went from 12.4 exahash to 12.6 exahash. So where are they going to get in May? If that's, and then
what's on the street? What do people want to see?
I have no expectation other than, they keep telling us they're going to get to 32 exahash by the end of the year. And they also have told us that they have 400 megawatts, up and running and ready to go. They got the machines. So, A plus B should equal C. And, so
Well, and that Texas had big problems with power this week, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah. They had a lot of big problems with power this week. And I can't even imagine what's going to happen.
Well, we're moving into, June, we're moving into the summer months.
Yeah.
This is the part of the year. But on the flip side, this is the part of the year over the next, June, July, August. There were months last year where 1 month Riot got like $31 million in energy credits. So I know some people don't care much for that part of their business model, but it's a game changer for them. That reduces their cost per coin. If they have 1 or 2 months out of the year where they have that happen, and now they are, doubling the amount of facilities they have. So they could have a number even bigger than that this year. Now, that's not the number one thing that I'm, pumped for. I'm not waiting to hear about the big energy credits. I'm waiting to see them start getting exahash online and start mining more Bitcoin in total and mining more Bitcoin per exahash. Their efficiency from a standpoint of Bitcoin mined per exahash, it lags the field, it lags their peers, and that's one of the things that they said they were going to work on, imminently. So I've been talking about kind of a 90-day window for Riot. I want to see something in the next 90 days that shows me they're on this plan and this trajectory that they've been talking about for some time now.
Let me read a few things. Michael, welcome. Thank you for subscribing. He wants to know price action for Riot in the month of June. And also, Robbie, you should probably tell us every day if that Cordana for Riot has lost power or not, if you're that close to it. He's 10 minutes away, and he said they didn't lose any power this week.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So so they now have 2 gigantic facilities in the state of Texas. And, the Corsicana is going to be where the bulk majority of their machines are going to be. So we've yet to see what happened there.
We got a shout out from Jeff.
Go ahead, George.
Oh, prediction for Cleanspark Marathon monthly BTC mined. Ooh, that's going to be an interesting one. I think it's going to be Core anyways. But how's Core doing?
All right. How's the stock doing, or how's the...
No, mining wise. How are they doing mining wise?
Somebody will probably be able to answer that. I believe they still put their mining up on a daily basis on their website. So I didn't pay close attention to that this month, but they always compete. In fact, there were 2 months this year where they actually mined more than Marathon. And then Marathon retook the lead. But Marathon, has had a significant amount of their machines offline for several months. So we're going to see if that got better. Did that equation improve in May? Because Marathon actually in the month of April was even less efficient if you take the total amount of exahash that they have that should be hashing. I think they're at like 29 plus exahash. So, divided by that, they were the least efficient out of all the Bitcoin miners we follow in the month of April. Now, part of that is because, 8 or 9 exahash was just offline for the month. So we'll see how that happens this month. My prediction, I think Marathon will mine more than CleanSpark. I think Marathon will mine more than everybody. And, the difficulty level, they caught a break on that. So, for the last year, the difficulty level has just been going up month after month in a big way. So, I think you'll see less than a 50% reduction. Well, that's not fair either, because a third of April, right? Because the halving, I think, was on the 20th of April. So a third of that month was post-halving. So, we're going to see new numbers. And, I would still expect, I expect big numbers from Marathon. They only mined, let me see if I can find their...
As you're doing that time, CleanSpark was talking about how they overclocked their machines by 30% in this facility because of the oil that they dump their Bitcoin mining machines in.
Nice.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That's significant. And as you know, these newer machines come on that are already more efficient, a lot more efficient. So Marathon mined 850 last month. So, you know, this is going to be, let's do the math.
Riot hash rate does not increase this month, Ty says. Oh my goodness, I hope you're so wrong.
That will be disappointing, but it will not shock me. But if it doesn't increase, that's why I'm saying 90 days. If we get a disappointing June and a disappointing July, for me personally, and please always remember, none of this is financial advice. I just, for me personally, my patience is gonna be pretty near its end if June and July are a big disappointment. I didn't have big expectations for May, but by June and July for Riot and for Bitfarms, I expect to see their exahash jump significantly. You know, and now they're talking about, you know, Riot's talking about buying Bitfarms, so I'm not talking about, you know, adding that exahash. They're talking about getting to 32 exahash on their own. And in their press release, they're talking about getting to a combined 52 exahash by the end of the year if they acquire Bitfarms. So, you know, that would Marathon.
But they gotta find, Tom, they gotta find one thing. They have to find the holes in the wall to plug the power into.
Maybe they got
I did a video about that. Yeah, the holes in the wall. This is from Seinfeld, just so you guys know. So they can plug the power in and flip the switch.
I mean, what do you guys think? Let's do an over-under on.
I can't do a poll, sorry.
That's okay. I'll type it in.
Everybody's ripping on me. Yeah, I locked myself out of the house. Okay. It happens. Who am I more, Iris or Riot? Oh my goodness.
First, let me do this one, and then we can do that. We can put 4 down that are all going to be pretty competitive.
Thanks, Sour. I lost 30 pounds too, guys, by the way.
Congratulations.
Wasn't easy.
Okay, so let's try this poll. To me, these are the numbers that we should be thinking about in terms of Marathon, but we'll see what you guys think. So how many Bitcoin can Marathon mine in the month of May? Remember, they mined 850 in June, but 2/3 of June was pre-halving. So what are they going to do in May?
You mean in April?
Or sorry, yes, 2/3 of April. Yeah, sorry, thank you, George. 2/3 of April was pre-halving, and that 850 represents, you know, 20 days of rewards of 6.25.
I would have done 550, but I'll do 500.
Yeah, if you don't think they're getting to 600, then
I just don't see them getting to 600.
This is these are some. Vote. It's free to vote. I'm pretty surprised at these results right now, and it's funny, George. You and I never talked about this, but you just said my number.
550.
We have the same number.
Yeah, 550.
So we'll see. Right now, the majority of people think
incredible. If you think about it, that's incredible.
It is. That's a lot of Bitcoin, and the average price of Bitcoin was up dramatically in the month of May versus the month of April. And in this quarter that's going to end June 30th, so, you know, we're still a whole month away from that, the average price of Bitcoin is going to be up significantly from the previous quarter, and the previous quarter was, I think, the second highest quarter in the history of Bitcoin. So the average price per Bitcoin in this quarter that will end June 30th, you know, unless something catastrophic happens in the month of June, so I don't want to say anything before we're even there, but, should we stay inside of this range, this will be by far the highest average price per Bitcoin in a quarter. So that will, everyone's going to mine less Bitcoin, but the revenue per Bitcoin will be at an all-time high in the next quarterly reports that we get. So the next quarterly reports are going to be very confusing because of the fact, that the amount of Bitcoin that you mined is going to be less. But some companies have big growth plans. We're going to start to see some of these more efficient miners come online for these companies. So the second quarter, the third quarter of the calendar year 2023 are going to provide, some very tricky numbers to try to assess exactly what they mean.
You guys are so funny. Oh, Darren said something about CleanSpark has an issue. They do have one issue they were talking about, and that was this 50 megawatt transformer that cannot get released for some reason. And they say they put the machines in other spots and they still have them all running, but I don't believe them. And I'm going to play golf with the COO. I guess he lives right around the corner from me. So we hit it off. So I told him I'd beat him in golf. He was a PGA. He was on the tour for a little while.
So he was on the tour, so he's got that advantage, but you used to own a golf club course.
Golf course, yeah.
I don't know how much that helps your golf game, but...
Well, I'll tell you what. It was funny. We were talking. He goes, "What's your handicap?" And I said, 4. He goes, "It's only a 4?" I said, No. You don't understand. When I hit off the tee, I go 4.
Oh, I never heard that. That might be an old one, but...
No one's ever said it. Come on. These are classics.
This is the good stuff, people.
Right.
Somebody was saying, and, they have their own pool, so you can count this. I'm trying to go back and find out. I lost my place here.
Oh, that Seeker said it. 622, I think is what it was. The Marathon was going to mine.
So I think that would be a great result. Like I said, to me, my over-under was 550, and George said it first, and that was the same number.
He says Seeker's saying CleanSpark's going to be 414, Core's going to be 446.
414, 446. So that means Marathon did get a bunch of their exahash online to pull ahead by that far, because Marathon and Core have been within a rounding error of the same number pretty much every month this year. So if they pulled that far out ahead of Core Scientific, then Marathon will have hit a home run in the month of May.
Marathon, according to Seeker, is at 612, and they're expected to be 622 by the end of the month. Wow.
So this is going to be a big adjustment when we put out our monthly, and just to review, let me go back to this.
That might be a good play for this weekend, by the way, Marathon.
So Marathon last month mined 850. We're thinking over 600. I mean, that would be phenomenal. Core Scientific in the mid 4s. So to me, that would be just, if you do the math, that would be basically the same thing that they did in the previous month. And CleanSpark, so, 360 would be half of that, but factored for a third. So, 400, if they did 4. So those are all, I don't think those are, if that's where all those are at, then they probably just about hit their targets. The big surprise out of that would be if somebody looked at the pool, then that is the answer. So Marathon, I think, seems like they hit a home run. What will be interesting to see is how much is everybody going to hodl? This will now be a full month post halving. So, these numbers, the amount of Bitcoin they mined are going to be lower, but, the revenue obviously per Bitcoin is high. So how many of these companies are going to be able to continue to hodl some of their Bitcoin without having to dilute themselves? So in other words, that's what Marathon has been trying to do, or at least that's what they've been saying they're doing. They're paying for their cost of mining, they're paying for their overhead, and they're basically banking the rest in their hodl. and we can look at everybody's hodl position. Marathon, by the way, as you guys probably know, by far the biggest hodl position. So this was as of April 30th. You can see Marathon at 17,631 Bitcoin. Hut at 9,102nd. Riot at 8,872. So this will be interesting. Has Hut started to sell any of their Bitcoin? Because they did talk in their investor presentation that they talked about not diluting, not necessarily taking that off the table altogether, but that this hodl stash was a potential source of, funding for them in the future. So we'll see. They haven't sold any yet since they merged, and it's now been, 6 months. They haven't sold any. So will they start to sell some? If so, can Riot pass them and become, the second biggest hodl position? And, you've got Marathon running away with this, Hut and Riot very close, and then CleanSpark. CleanSpark went from 500 to, potentially as much as 6,000 after we get this monthly report, and that was in 6 or 7 months. So, they started hodling in a big way. And then you can see this list falls off. There's only 9. Let me see if I can resize this so that that makes more sense that way. There's only 9 companies that really have any hodl at all, and Cypher has added a significant amount, but then you get everybody, there's 6 that are over 1,000. Then you get Bit Digital at just under 1,000. Bitfarms actually added a few to get to 830, and then down to DMG, which is kind of a nano cap, but they've just held this Bitcoin forever. But there's not a lot of companies that have a hodl position. These 4 are, they've broken out, and these are the big 4. Well, these are the big 3, Marathon, Riot, and CleanSpark. Core Scientific, I think, is bouncing between groups.
I'm just buying as we talk, by the way.
You're buying?
Yeah. Because, Monday's going to be an interesting day, I think, in the market. As long as we don't get beat up too bad on Bitcoin, it should be a decent day.
Well, let's see if this chart worked or not. Let me find. Let's get back here and see what's going on. So we're kind of sideways since the market closed. So somewhere around 67,500. Again, that's. I think Bitcoin, I think, was down maybe 3% this week.
Yeah, I think, Robert, Wyoming's going to be an issue too. I don't know if you ever saw the Seinfeld commercial.
No.
Why, yes, Wyoming. He did some commercial. It was kind of funny. No, it's too close to a certain government facility, and they put the kibosh on it.
So I never saw a formal press release that said that, but one of our members did tell us that they saw something. So CleanSpark did not put out a press release that said that.
Well, they talked about it. Let's put it that way.
Did they talk about it at their day?
They're like, they're not worried. They're not worried. We're not worried.
So what's they still think they're going to be a go in Wyoming.
Yeah.
But something is going on.
Yeah, something's going on.
All right, so, next week we're going to get all these details because this is the last day of the month. We know Bitfarms on the first day of the month.
Can you believe they don't have a corporate jet? CleanSpark?
If you tell me it, I believe it.
Well, yeah, because I was like, oh, would you fly out of Greene County? Because, this is local airport. I'm like, would you fly out of Greene County? He goes, what? I'm like, Greene County. No. I'm like, what? How do you not fly out of Greene County? It's right there. It's like 5 minutes away. No, we go all the way to Atlanta to the airport. I was like, what?
Well, they might have to change that because, for up until recently, 100% of their stuff was in Georgia, but that's not true anymore. Now they have some in what?
Yep, but their
Mississippi,
headquarters
and now then
out
some
in Nevada.
That's right. So the headquarters is away, but they're you know, their data centers are all used to be all in close proximity. Still, the vast majority are.
Yeah, and that's true. The Wyoming deal is not shut down, isn't closed yet.
The Wyoming deal is still not closed. Okay.
And it was funny
Good
because
update, George.
the COO was talking to me about, like, you know, he's talking to the power company and talking to the mayors and all that, and you know how he's working out the final details. But here's one stat: Washington, Georgia, which is where I think Sanderville is,
Right.
and he was talking about how much money they're already giving the city, and I think last month he said it was $80,000
In taxes.
and they expect. No, this is in Georgia. This is Cleanspark.
In taxes, though, you're saying.
No, in taxes. Oh, sorry, I thought you said Texas.
Oh,
Yeah, in taxes. In taxes. And they expect that number to go to $500,000 a month here in the next like 60 to 90 days.
Yeah, that's massive.
If they can just keep their hands out of the cookie jar, and what I mean by that is stop going to the well to raise more money, you know, I think we're being in a really good position with Cleanspark.
And Cleanspark 100 said, Matt, quote, Matt told me he's not worried, I think, about the Wyoming thing. So Cleanspark 100 was also at the event with you. So he basically heard the same
He's not
thing.
worried, but, you know, he couldn't tell you if he was. He couldn't say to you, just, you know, here's a great example. That's how CEOs have to be. He couldn't tell you, oh, yeah, I'm really worried. He couldn't say that because then you'd have information.
Right. He can't say that unless he's already told the whole world that.
Right.
So
his answer has to be, it's not a problem.
That's their official position as of right now. And that's all.
Right.
And that's what it is until it changes.
And that position probably will change. It's going to have to. But you can totally see how you can, like, from a hedge fund's point of view, right? That you could totally take something like Wyoming, run with it, start sending some pieces out this weekend to really beat up the price, right? And so that Monday comes and the price is looking bad. I mean, just look at it. I mean, you could, you know, you got 100 people that work for you and everybody starts turning on Cleanspark regarding the Wyoming deal. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to achieve the exahash that they wanted.
Well, FUD.
I'm not spreading any FUD about Riot. What am I spreading FUD about Riot for? I haven't even spoke about Riot.
We're not at the moment. We're not even talking about Riot.
Oh, wait. That could have been FUD. That I said Texas had some power problems.
Ah, okay. Well, we got clarification on that from somebody in the neighborhood.
Yeah. You got to watch the whole thing, Chris. You can't come in and out. Very fluid. Things are moving.
We're moving fast here. But I'm going to ask everybody to please smash the like button again. We're at 73 likes. It does help the stream out in real time. Also, if you could please do us this favor, we did demonetize ourselves so you guys don't have to sit through commercial after commercial while we're live. So if you're watching this on replay, then that's not true. But right now, we're live.
I didn't miss that point. Riot owns 10% of Bitfarms.
Yeah, we talked about that. We went through the press
release. Can
release.
They start including their... So let's say, for an example, here's a crazy thing, and you tell me if they could. Can they start saying, okay, Riot mined 500 coins, and then Marathon, Bitfarms, you know, they did 100 coins, and then so 10% is 10 coins. So we also mined another 10 coins from Bitfarms.
They can't count them as their own.
But they could write it just like I just said, right?
They could absolutely. They could say we're 10% owners in Bitfarms and they mined X amount of coins, and 10% of that is this. But they can't count them as their own. But sure, I mean, if I was Riot, I would be disclosing that that's a significant investment, even just the 10%. Right? They probably spent $100 million or thereabouts to get that.
Interesting, Tom. Interesting.
Robin says the Texas grid does have challenges. So we definitely know, I mean, for the last several summers in a row, we know that the grid runs into a problem in the summer. Now, they've actually even run into some problems in the winter on occasion as well. But in the summer months, the Texas grid has been, at capacity, and there's big credits over the last few years. Particularly last year was the all-time record for Riot in energy credits from the state of Texas. And this year they have significantly more facilities online, so, the potential for even more energy credits. And again, I understand, that's not the function and purpose of their business, but it is a part of their equation, and it can be a very good part of their equation to get these big energy credits. So, because there's a lot of other Bitcoin miners that have a significant amount of facilities, and they just have to curtail. Some of them, there are some others that get payments. In the past, Riot's credits have been more than all the rest of the Bitcoin miners put together. I don't know if that'll change over time. Iris Energy has some big plans in Texas, so we'll see what happens. But for the time being, go ahead.
What's your average into Riot?
I can tell you this off. I got to think of what my number is, but I am still quite a bit in the red on Riot. So, and I would have to look, but I'm pretty deeply red on Riot still. I mean, I'm at like $12 or $13 on my cost, even after dollar cost averaging in.
And you're saying you think in 60 days you're going to change your opinion on that, or?
I think in the next, I've been saying, over the last couple of weeks, basically the next 3 monthly operational updates, if we don't see them executing the plan that they've been talking about, because they keep saying, we've made gigantic progress, you're just not seeing it in Bitcoin mined yet because we had to build our entire infrastructure first. But now they're saying that, the 400 megawatts is ready to go. So to me, okay, it's ready to go. Over the next 90 days, let's see it get going. So if it does, then they're on track and they're doing what they said they were going to do. And if it doesn't, then, to me, I'm going to start to have to take a much closer look. I don't mind the fact that I'm in the red. I will tell you, I stopped dollar cost averaging into Riot earlier. I continued to dollar cost. To me, at one point, a year or a year and a half ago, I thought Cleanspark and Bitfarms were trading so much lower in comparison that I felt like those were a better deal. So I continued to dollar cost average into those long after I did Riot. And they've both performed better than Riot from a stock standpoint, particularly Cleanspark, is the runaway from a stock standpoint. I'll go to that chart. I mean, it's not even close. Their stock has just outperformed all the other Bitcoin miners significantly. So if I go to year to date, I mean, this was as of last Friday, so this doesn't include this week. Cleanspark was up 60% year to date. There was only one other Bitcoin miner that's even green year to date, which was Iris Energy. And they did have a big run last week and over the last really 5 weeks. But you'll see, I mean, everybody else is in the red. 2024 has been a rough year, but to that point, I talked about the fact that, we've been trending in the right direction. So again, this is through last Friday. We called a bottom, if you will, or we took our guess that, April 16th looked like a pretty solid bottom for the Bitcoin miners. And you can see, as of last Friday, Bitcoin was up 10%. 17 of the 19 Bitcoin miners outperformed that. We had miners, Iris Energy was up 88% in that time frame. Stronghold on the news that they were putting themselves on the chopping block and they're going to sell the company potentially. They pulled almost a double. Core Scientific up 82%. Marathon up 49%. So, there were big moves in this 5.5 week period. But like I said, this week things cooled off. So this was a nice 5.5 week run. But my point, even as of last Friday, was, that's great. But with all that, it still leaves all the Bitcoin miners trailing Bitcoin year to date. So that's nice progress, and that's how it has to start, right? We don't get this all in one day, but there's a lot more progress to go But unfortunately, this week, you know, we had a little bit of a break. So if I look at this week, so this is updated through the day that just ended, you know, an hour ago. So if you look at this week, Bitcoin was down 3% on the week. But you'll see most of the Bitcoin miners underperformed. And some of the big ones, right? You've got the three largest. Riot was down 6%. Marathon was down 8% this week. Cleanspark was down 9% this week. So, you know, that's double or triple to the downside what Bitcoin was. We talked about at the top of the show, Bitfarms was the best performer on the week. There was a very specific reason for that. They got an offer. Riot offered to buy them for $2.30. So, you know, their stock gravitated towards that number. For several times, it kind of hit $2.30. One time it went over, and it closed at $2.24. So there's a few pennies on the table potentially. And I think that's how this is going to go. You know, it's going to, on red days, this will move down. But you'll see today, on a day where a lot of the Bitcoin miners were red, Bitfarms was down 1 penny. So I think you're going to see this trade in not necessarily within 1 penny, but I think you'll see Bitfarms trade in a very tight range for the time being until this matter is resolved one way or the other. We did not talk about Bitdeer. Bitdeer had some big news today. So let me go to that press release. If I could ask everybody to please smash the like button. It does help. We're at 88. We're going for 100 likes. So help us get to 100 likes. Yeah, Crypto Rich said 92 votes, but only 87 likes. So do us a favor if you would be so kind as to smash the like button. And let's call this poll. How many Bitcoin will Marathon mine in May? So we think we know the answer. Look, we were talked about maybe 622. So 57% thought it would be over 600, 30% over 600, 27% over 700. So we'll see if that comes in. To me, over 600, in my book, that will be an A for Marathon. You know, just from a number of Bitcoin mined in the month of May. So.
And then maybe it gets above 20 and never gets below it again.
Marathon or?
Yeah, Marathon. Yeah.
I know. Marathon did close at $19.52, and Marathon has hit 30 twice this year. So, you know, the fact that it's struggling to get above 20 goes to my point that, you know, these things, even with this recent run, they are struggling year to date. We have not gotten our run in the Bitcoin miners, and, you know, we're getting a lot of volatility. We had a very rough first 3.5 months of the year. And I feel like we're trending in the right direction, but to George's point, I don't know how long it's going to take to get where we're going. So
let's talk about the market overall, Tom.
Yeah, the market.
It's incredible.
This week the market pulled back, but last week the market was hitting all-time highs.
Yeah, but it didn't pull back enough to even worry. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's off of its all-time highs, but
I wouldn't be surprised if we hit new all-time highs in the next couple of weeks.
I don't know what the answer to that is. Sell in May and go away was not, that was false this year. I don't know. People have been saying that my whole investing career. I feel like it's just because it rhymes, because that's false just as many times as it's true as far as I can tell. And I have not done a deep dive on the research on that. I'm just saying many, many years. May is a good month, and May was a great month for Bitcoin, right? It was up 10, 11, 12%. I'll have to do the math, but, you know, we can do the math. If we go to the 1 month, at the moment, about 11.4%. So May was a very good month for Bitcoin, and it ran all the way, you know, to a high of, let's see, almost just $71,980 according to this chart. So just under $72,000 in the month of May. So March, April, May, Bitcoin's been over 70,000 in all 3 of those months. So, you can see we're trading in a range. After this giant breakout in February, and this was the largest 1-month candle of all time for Bitcoin, this one right here. And, then we had another green one after that, which was March. Then we pulled back in April, and now we had a good May. We'll see how June is. So that's the next poll. What's June? Let me get to 1 day here. We'll go back to the 15-minute, and we'll do a poll. Just going to put a few options real quick. Pardon the silence. I'm almost done.
Tony, I'll ask that question.
All right, those are a few choices. Where's Bitcoin going in June? So are we gonna have a good June? Are we gonna have a bad June? Are we gonna go sideways in June? What's everybody think about June?
Tom, did Hive buy some GPUs for AI?
Yes, Hive had a bunch of GPU. Remember, Hive used to mine Ethereum, so they have had GPUs for a long time. And so they have an AI, I call it high performance computing. Yes, that's a part of their equation. In my opinion, it's a small part of their equation. So when I look at Hive, I don't go, oh, that's a AI play. But I know that's a piece of what they do. But the vast majority of what they do and the vast majority of their resources, efforts, very quietly, they had 6 or 7 or 8 announcements of purchasing Bitcoin mining machines over the last year. So in doing so, they're replacing the vast majority of their Bitcoin mining fleet. They're increasing their efficiency. They're targeting 8 exahash. I know that's a lot less than, the ones we normally talk about. So, and that's why I have Hive in this middle. There's 8 companies that have very big growth plans, and then there's a little bit of a drop off. And Hive is in that middle territory where I like a lot of the things they did. And yes, there's several companies, including Hive, that will have a high performance computing component to their revenue stream in the future. Bit Digital to me is the one as a percentage of what they do. It's pretty, if they do what they say they're going to do, and it seems like they are, that's going to be a much more significant. For most of the other companies, it will not be a giant part of what they do. Hut is in the same position. They're high performance computing as well. They have many revenue streams. To me, I'm starting to feel like, Bitcoin mining is going to be a smaller and smaller percentage of Hut's overall revenue going forward. So, maybe they'll put out a press release and prove me wrong, but it has been years since they really bought any significant amount of Bitcoin machines.
I'm telling jokes in my head, just so you guys know.
Uh-oh.
But I can't say anything about Hut, so I got in trouble.
Listen, Hut has a lot of these companies, and the 4 I put in the middle, I'll tell you, and one of them had a press release that I want to get to next. So, we just talked about Hive. Very quietly, I like what Hive is doing, and their stock is underperforming their peers right now. So I don't know. Is that an opportunity? I guess, you guys got to do your own due diligence, as you know. But to me, you've got Hive, you've got Hut, you've got Bitdeer, and you've got Bit Digital. To me, those are, those are the next four after the top eight. And those are, they've been less clear about what their plans are, and or, their plans are less than the other companies. But some of those companies may be very successful. I can tell you, I feel like Hive has a strong balance sheet. I feel like Bit Digital has a strong balance sheet. And they both have a hodl position. And, so those might be good investments. But so far this year, if you look at their performance, let me go to year to date. I mean, Hive's down 42% this year. So, and it's not like they're alone. You can see most of these companies are down, between 30 and 60%. But even in particular in this period where a lot of the Bitcoin miners were really, starting to catch up, Hive was lagging behind. Hive and Argo blockchain, which at this point, I don't know what Argo blockchain's equation is. They're at 2 point something exahash, although they don't even really say it anymore in their monthly press release. They're so far out of the top 10. And I know on the members only, we talked about maybe cutting a few of these out. A lot of people don't care about some of these micro caps, and some of which are turning now into nano cap stocks. But for the time being, I have 19 that we've always had on the list. And one of the members brought up a good point. Let the market just weed them out. Everybody's talked about some consolidation, whether they get bought out or go out of business, or maybe time will tell us better. So I want to get to, let me find this. This is a double whammy. Tether buys $100 million worth of Bitdeer shares with an option to purchase another $50 million. So this is kind of two stories here. This is yet another. Remember, Tether last month bought a huge amount of Bitcoin. So this month they invest $100 million, and this is a new offering. So this is, I'll do this the other way. So Bitdeer announces up to $150 million of a private placement financing. So it turns out this private placement financing is all with Tether. So
is this part of the USDT?
Tether. Yes, Tether bought
How's that
$100 million. Well, this becomes the question. When we talked about this with Bitcoin, it was kind of put forth that this is with their profits that they've made. So that becomes the question. Are they, because to George's point, Tether should be a stable coin, so their stuff should be in all, cash or cash equivalent short-term bonds, and I mean short-term. Theoretically, if you want to be pegged to the dollar, you can't diversify your portfolio. But if they're really making this much money that they can be, buying, it was crazy. Thousands of Bitcoin last month, and now $100 million, potentially $150 million investment in Bitdeer. And I do find it interesting that they start their journey into Bitcoin mining with the one company that's not in the U.S. And it's not the only company, but this is of the top 12 that I was just talking about. Bitdeer, is not a U.S. company. I think this is, Singapore. So this is a Singapore-based company. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there are different nuances in the reporting and, those kind of things that, and institutional money is, much less likely to be involved in this. Now, Tether is a gigantic potential source of money. Apparently, they are minting money
They make that much money. That's crazy. But
Well,
I mean, if they got billions of dollars, I mean,
they have
think about it.
They have $100 billion. I mean, let's go take a look.
What's 10% of that?
So Tether now has 111, almost $112 billion. So even if they were making annually, right? If they were making 5%, which is aggressive, because, well, I suppose yeah, they should be making 5%, because remember, they've got to keep in short term 4.5%, whatever the case may be, but that would be $5 billion of profit a year. So, if they're really doing that, and that's the business model for a stable coin. For those who scratch your head and go, well, what's the point of having a coin that's just pegged to the dollar? Well, your profit is the interest that you can make. And in these high interest rate environments, it would appear, if everything is as they say, Tether is minting money. And they do talk about, I think they want to do more of this. Let's see.
That's crazy that they're making that kind of money.
And then it's Bitdeer intends to use the proceeds to fund its data center expansion and ASIC-based mining rigs. So this is another company. Bitdeer has multiple revenue streams, but they talked about getting their exahash up to 11 exahash. So that would represent some significant growth. And they do a lot of hosting. So they have multiple revenue streams as well. But this is a big move. So on that, you can see there were two companies, well, three really. DigiHost was up 4%. But Iris Energy had a great day. They actually were lagging one day this week. Everybody was green and they were red, and now we're the reverse. But Bitdeer was up 5%, and I think it was on this news. So Iris Energy and Bitdeer were the big winners today, and Bitdeer was, I think, because of this press release that we just looked at. So there was not a massive amount of, other than the fact that the RIOT Bitfarms, to me, the RIOT Bitfarms is one of the biggest announcements that we've had in this industry really since the beginning. They've been talking about mergers and acquisitions, and the two companies that were the most vocal about this on their conference calls were Marathon and CleanSpark. Well, the first one to strike is RIOT, although this is far from a done deal. I want to get to Bitfarms' response to this. They did put out a public response. So they put out a press release on May 29th. Let me just get to the part that matters. Okay, so I'll just read this quickly. On April 20th, Bitfarms confirms that the company received a proposal by RIOT Platforms on April 22nd. So remember, the public announcement came a month later, but privately, on April 22nd, Bitfarms received a proposal to acquire 100% of the common shares of Bitfarms at a price of $2.30 per common share, consisting of cash and RIOT common stock. So some combination thereof. A special committee of the board, comprised solely of independent directors, carefully considered the proposal and determined it significantly undervalues the company and its growth prospects. So to me, that's the biggest part of what's going on here. So I don't know if this is the beginning of what is going to be a protracted negotiation. We also talked about the fact, and there's an article, really what the approach that RIOT seems to be taking is more in the hostile takeover territory. And so we'll see how they pursue. But you can see this response is, after careful consideration, significantly undervalues the company. So they don't like $2.30. And I will tell you, as a shareholder, I don't like $2.30. And you only have to look at their chart. So this is Bitfarms' chart on the one-day time frame. You're going to see on February 27th, Bitfarms was trading at $3.91. So, okay, that was their multi-year high. But, it's hard for me to believe they're going to get consensus from a shareholder vote, if that's what it came to sell this stock at $2.30 when a few months ago it was at $3.91. And, it had peaked at $3.56. So on two different runs in December of 23, it got over $3.50. In February of 2024, it got to almost $4. So, and by the way, they haven't even started to get the good part of their growth plans. So that's why I'm saying, their May update and more so their June update, they talked about being at 12 exahash by June 30th. So they were at 7 exahash at April 30th. So if between their May and June updates, all of a sudden they're at 12 exahash, it's going to be harder and harder and harder to convince shareholders, if they're staying on plan, why would I sell my shares for $2.30? But by the same token, you've got Riot that's now they're the biggest shareholder. They own 10%. They want to get some board seats. And I will tell you, this also came out, I think, today. Bitfarms announces result of annual general and special meeting. If you take a look, this individual he got voted down as a director. And apparently this is one of the co-founders. So that frees up a board seat. So this is why I'm saying, to me, this feels like hostile takeover territory. And there's a sentence in here where they kind of allude to that. So here, the board will seek an appropriate candidate to enhance the board's skill set and address, so this is the part, and address the independence concerns expressed by certain proxy advisory firms, which are believed to have led to Mr. Grodsky not being reelected. So there was apparently an overwhelming amount of proxy votes that voted no. And, they're calling this out here to get, this is a co-founder of the company, it says somewhere earlier in this press release. So he's off the board. And Riot is, going to, I'm sure, pursue that board seat. And they've asked to have another special meeting. So, it's on here. I don't know where this ends up. I find it hard to believe that this is going to go through at $2.30. It doesn't make sense to me, but let's ask that question. First of all, let's see how our poll is going.
It says CFO read the statement and mention other expressions of interest under review. I had a feeling that CleanSpark made a bid also.
I
mean, that, again, that's FUD.
That's speculation. We don't know.
It was one of those, when I asked the question, it was,
DEFCON said, as far as Jason Less is concerned, that's the CEO of Riot. As far as Jason Less is concerned, he's the new CEO of Bitfarms. We'll see. I feel like we're going to see. I feel like there's a lot left on this journey here. So maybe I'll get surprised. Let's close out this poll, and then we'll put up another poll regarding that. Where's Bitcoin going in June? Over 70,000, 32%. Over 74,000, 39%. So that's 71% feel like we're going up from here. 22% feel like we're going sideways, and 8% feel like we're going down. So a pretty optimistic poll, and that's 89 votes. So I will close that out. I said over 70. You said what?
Over 70.
Over 70? Yeah, I mean, we went over 70 3 months in a row. We've had 3 months of sideways consolidation. I still feel like, you never know in the short term. So, it's always, you never know. But it feels to me like typically what has happened in the last 18 months is after every period of sideways consolidation, we've taken the next leg up. And, until we're not, in my mind, we're in a bull market. We're a year and a half into a significant bull market for Bitcoin. I'm just going to show that real quickly because, it's easy to forget that, we've come a long way. Let me go to a chart that doesn't have who cares? This has all the... So if you look, we double bottomed here in November and December of 2022, the FTX situation. So from that bottom, which again, that was about 18 months ago, right? We're up 341%. So correct me if I'm wrong. We're in the middle of a bull market. We have had 5 pullbacks in this bull market. each of those 5 has been between 20 and 23%. So this one that we just had was 23%. So that was the second time that happened. But, this is a significant. So that's why I say, if I had to guess, the tendency is up until otherwise notified. That's my opinion. Obviously, only time will tell. And in any given month, So I just want to get everybody's opinion on the super simple poll. Will Riot acquire Bitfarms for $2.30? That is the offer that is on the table. They have spent, $90 or $100 million buying Bitfarms stock to get a 10% position. Riot is now the largest holder of Bitfarms stock, and they want to buy it all, and the offer is $2.30. Is this going to happen, or is this not happening? I've let you know, I find it just very hard to imagine that this is going to happen, but I could be wrong. Riot's got something in their head. They're not doing this out of left field. So then you can see this article came out a couple of days ago, and it kind of goes to what I was talking about. Riot plans hostile takeover of Bitfarms. So, and I agree with this sentiment. I think that, I don't think this is a proposal, for the fair market value of Bitfarms that they expected Bitfarms to say yes to. This looks and feels in every way like more of an attempted hostile takeover. So, and that doesn't mean it won't happen. The other possibility is Riot has a number in their head, right? They start at 230. They're accumulating shares at less than that, right? They've gotten 10% of their shares. I think they said at $2.19 on the average. Don't quote me on that. I would have to double check that. But so they may know they're going to pay more than this. As a shareholder of Bitfarms, and I'm a shareholder, I own Riot and Bitfarms. CleanSpark, Riot, and Bitfarms are my 3 largest positions on Iris Energy. That's just FYI. Please don't do what I do. Of course, this is never financial advice. We follow 19 different Bitcoin miners. And these are ultra high volatility, high risk plays. They just are. So we say that all the time, but it bears repeating. Because a lot of people do not like high volatility plays, right? It's been, when you have a 3.5 month period where your stock's down 30, 40, 50%, some people just can't make it through that, understandably, right? Their stop loss is before that. So, if that's the case, then these are not a good place for you to be, and that's okay. So preliminarily, it's looking like we think Riot will not go down. At the moment, we got 85% saying no to this. I'll leave this up for a minute and let you guys continue to vote and see what you think as to whether or not this goes through at $2.30. I just can't fathom it. My price target I thought Bitfarms left on its own had a chance to take out its high from the previous cycle, which means take a run at $10. Now, that's not any time in the next 30, 60, 90 days or even 180 days. But I thought by the end of this cycle, that's a pretty realistic price target. And I've heard others that have price targets significantly higher than that for Bitfarms. So, who knows, right? They could fail for all I know, right? Most of their growth plans are ahead of them, not behind. They are at 7.0 exahash. They expect to get to 21 exahash on their own by December 31st. So that's a triple. Barry's saying, Tom, if you were the Bitfarms CEO, would you dilute 50% now that the price is steady? So I know they have an at-the-market offering out there, and I mean, there's no doubt they could do some steady dilution because the price is not going to. So I think what Barry's trying to say is ordinarily, if you're heavily diluting your own stock, it's going to drive the price of your stock down. Right now, Bitfarms is in a situation where it probably doesn't matter if they use that at the market offering. Their stock's probably going to stay somewhere in this, call it $2.15 to $2.30 range. So, and they do, I think they do want to have more liquidity, and they need some more liquidity, some more money to get to where they're going. So, I don't know about 50%, but I do think it makes sense to use some portion of your at-the-market offering here.
Doesn't, Ty, I think Marathon has more cash than Riot.
We would have to look, but those two both have a similar amount of liquidity between their cash and their HODL. So I guess probably because Marathon has so much more Bitcoin, it's possible Riot has more cash. But if you add the two together, to me, that's the liquidity number. And they're both, last time I checked, and they may be a little different than that, but they were both at like 1.3-ish billion dollars in liquidity.
Go Tinkle. Go Tinkle.
So that's why between those two, and then Cleanspark is the other one that talked heavily about acquisitions, but they specifically said, it's probably not going to be the publicly traded companies first. It'll be privately traded companies. It'll be infrastructure companies more so than going out and buying a company with all their existing machines. So, but here we go. The first big deal is just exactly that, an attempt to buy one of the existing, to me, Bitfarms is a top 8 Bitcoin miner.
I think it's just a beautiful game, personally.
So if we look, well, they were in 8th place. So there's a bunch that are pretty close, but I do think they will move up this list. I think they'll gravitate more towards 6th as time goes by if they execute their growth plans, because they do have, in the year 2024, they have bigger growth plans than Cypher and TerraWolf. So we'll see, right? There's a lot of execution between now and then. Right now, TerraWolf is mining a lot more Bitcoin than Bitfarms is, but if everybody sticks to their growth plan and if they remain efficient, I think Bitfarms would move up to potentially 6th, potentially 5th. However, Iris came out with a huge announcement last week, right? Because prior to that, Iris Energy was targeting 20 exahash for the end of 2024, this year. So that would be a double. They just got to 10. They were talking about get to 20. Then they put out a press release. Nope, we're going to get to 30 by the end of 2024. So that's a triple from here. So whereas Bitfarms was looking to get to 21 and Iris was looking to get to 20, so it seemed like they were going to be competitive. Now Iris has, jumped into another stratosphere. If they can execute, both have an awful lot of machines to get up and running between now and then, so, and I think the market very much is in a, I'll believe it when I see it mode. It is worth noting. You can see I don't know why this jumps from 10 to 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, oh, you know why? Because no, that's in there. So, Hut was a top 10 Bitcoin miner. They just popped out of the top 10. And the way it's looking now, I don't know if they're going to get back into the top 10. So I guess we'll see. We're going to have to wait for some announcements from them. They did talk about growing their Bitcoin mining. They said they wanted to skip a generation of machines. Well, to me, they've already done that. So I don't know if that means they're going to buy, the S21 or equivalent thereof and start to add exahash. So they said they're going to grow their exahash, but we're still waiting. In the meantime, they have fallen out of the top 10 pretty significantly. You can see. So we're at 81. This pulled I won't even say closer. Will Riot acquire Bitfarms for $2.30? 81% of you think that the answer to that is no.
No way.
Not happening. So there's your 80-20, George.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's never happening.
You're saying a no on that big time.
I just can't see it.
It doesn't make any sense to me. So I don't know what Riot knows that maybe we don't know, but to me, this makes absolutely no sense at all. I don't see how this is going to happen, but maybe there's more to this than meets the eye.
Maybe there's a short report coming.
Maybe. I
You
don't
know?
I don't know. But I'm with the consensus. I also would be a no. I just can't imagine that that would be the case, but I guess we'll see.
Would you be okay at 330?
I still would, if it was me making the decision, I would not do it at $3.30. I do think the chances of that go up dramatically. To me, I find it unimaginable at $2.30. If this settled at $3.30, I could believe that. I could believe that would happen. That's not the outcome I would look for, but again, maybe there's another piece of this that we don't understand. Remember, they have no CEO, right? And there's a $27 million lawsuit, I think, or thereabouts. So, there's stuff going on. Something's going on. So I guess we're going to have to wait. I wouldn't do it at $3.30.
Maybe I should apply for the position, Tom.
Of CEO?
Yeah.
Do you want it? Do you want that
Not
job?
really. It just sucks. You know that? I mean, what are you going to make? 20, 30, 40 million?
And a lot of that's going to be in stock.
Yeah, I know.
And then everybody's going to complain and yell that you're getting paid in stock on top of that. So somebody was just saying, Robert,
but they
ahead.
need a strong leader. You know what I mean? A strong CEO. They need somebody that, has industry experience. Maybe you, Tom.
Well, and the other part, yeah, sure. I'll do it.
You have to learn to talk like this with the thumb up in the air. 1,000 points of light.
Stay the course.
Right.
Robert Anderson was saying, let me find it again. Mids and smalls can't compete as the others grow. So I just want to talk about that for a second because I think that's what this is turning into. And that is why I think we got that announcement from Iris Energy that, they had announced their plans to get to 20 exahash. Then they put an announcement out that they're going to get to 30 by the end of 2024 and 40 by the middle of 2025. And I think that you're going to see, let me go to this chart. So this is the amount of exahash everybody reported on their April monthly operational report. So a lot of them had machines offline and, their actual hashing was less than this, but these are the number of machines that they have hooked up, their maximum capacity if they were running 100%. So you can see Marathon's already at basically 30, Core Scientific's at 20, CleanSpark's at 17. They've already said they're going to get to 32 by the end of the year and then 50 in 2025. Riot's talked about getting to 40 and now maybe, obviously if they combine over 50. And now Iris Energy is talking about 40. So there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have plans to get to, between 30 and 50 exahash. So by the time you get down to HUT at 8, it's just from there and it drops off. I'm sorry, Hive is at 8. They're planning to get to 8. HUT's at 5.5. They haven't even announced plans other than to generically say they want to grow. But it's just hard for me to imagine these companies competing with these companies that have already put plans on the table. So, I don't know how long this will take, but maybe this does consolidate to 5 or 6 companies. Marathon, I think it was Fred that said he expected all of this to end up in consolidation down to 5 or less companies. So I don't know how fast that happens. And some of these companies some of these companies may find other sources of revenue like high performance computing / AI that provide enough revenue stream that they can thrive on their own even at smaller numbers. I don't know, but I do know it's hard to imagine, forget the 6 or 7 below this that are at 1 exahash or 2 exahash. I don't know how a company, Argo Blockchain was once one of the top Bitcoin mining companies in the world, and they're hanging out at something like 2 exahash right now. So it just,
Can you put it in your phone?
I'm just not sure where companies like that go at this point. So maybe there's a lot more consolidation ahead than I expected. I did not expect to see the big guys buying out the medium size players, but maybe that will happen. I mean, here's the first bid. Although we just overwhelmingly said, although Riot's trying to do this, we don't think they're going to accomplish that goal. So I'll end that poll. We think that is a no. Give me a second. I'm just going to do a new... Oh, what did I do? Now I can't do a poll. I don't know what I did. See, it's very... When I start pressing buttons, things happen. I might have to get tech support to get that going. Let me see if I can do that here.
What'd you do?
I don't know. I don't know what I did, but all
You
of a
might
sudden,
have pressed like submit a question or something like that. Ask a question.
my chat disappeared. Well, I want to get that
Did
back.
you pay your bill?
Am I going to have to live without chat? Or do I go get tech support? It's a major minor situation. Well, let's keep going.
You realize you kept my taxes low on the building, right? Because I bet you they like that you decorate it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they didn't hit me on my taxes.
Oh, we didn't get to this yet.
Even though they got mad that I kept the Christmas decorations up until March.
Oh, commerce in and out. What is it?
So let me just get to a
Basically,
couple other...
Auto.
I had a couple other articles. Hello to George's wife.
Hi, folks.
You are live. You are live.
Happy to be here.
You can barely see her arm. You can wave. There you go. There
Oh,
you go.
there. Yep. We have a guest appearance. So this was an article. Bitcoin breaks to low end of the trading range, but June data could be the next catalyst. So this is just, Friday's national let's see. June begins Saturday, and next week should bring a bit more clarity. So to me, the big one is next Friday's national employment report, confirmation of softening economic conditions, and with those improved prospects for lower interest rates might provide to be the next catalyst for Bitcoin's attempt to breach its all-time high above 73,000. And really, it was at like 73,850, just under $74,000.
Right.
So all right, kind of the moral of this thing is bad's going to be good. If we get a bad unemployment report, that's going to be good news because that gives the Fed cover to start to lower interest rates. And that's what we still sit here all this time later, and the Fed and interest rates, it's still the biggest part of this equation. Well, I won't say the biggest part. Obviously, we just had the halving, which was a monumental event that happens every 4 years. We had the Bitcoin ETFs, which I think ultimately will be the biggest catalyst, and that will continue over the years. So, but from a short-term standpoint, we're looking at this economic data and we're wondering when the Fed is going to start to cut rates. I'm just seeing, I'm trying to look at, I see a super chat. So because I have a second screen where I can see a part of the chat, I just can't do the polls and that kind of stuff on that. So I want to get to this. We have, let me see if I can do this without, what did I do? Who is going to be the leader in quantum computers, NVIDIA or Google? And this is from Kevin231. Who's going to be the leader in quantum computers, NVIDIA or Google? And how much do you think this affects how miners increase exahash while using less power? I think that we are many, many years away from quantum computing having anything to do with Bitcoin mining. So that would be, I think that's in the distant future, in my opinion. Not a part of this 4-year cycle at all, I believe. So that would be my knee-jerk reaction to that question.
Did you see how Google changed their search results with AI now?
No.
Oh my goodness. Go type in anything in Google and they'll automatically answer it instead of like sending you to a website.
Oh, I do see that, but they give you, the way on my thing anyway, I get both. I get an answer and then I can scroll down and like look further. And I will tell you, so far I have not had, just a tiny sample group, so not I have not had a great experience with the answers that they've given.
Yeah, no, me either. But you know how lazy most searches are.
I mean, I feel like they're just going out, and I think they got a long way to go.
Right.
So, we're still at the beginning.
No, but my whole thing is traffic on the internet has got to be way down, Tom, because of that.
Oh, because you're saying people just take that answer versus clicking through and going to this website, that website, etc. They're just going to take whatever aggregated data and answer that they've been given. Yeah, that's interesting.
And their traffic is already down.
Google's?
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to undermine themselves. They are advertising.
I know. I think they are, by the way.
Is their revenue.
I think they're undermining themselves.
Well, maybe they're in a tricky situation where, this is the technology that's coming. And so they've got to be they got to be in the game. But by the same token, is it stealing revenue from themselves? I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't own Google. I don't own NVIDIA. I did foolishly say NVIDIA ran up to $400. And at that point, I said, I still think it's a steal right here, but I've missed so much of the run. I'm not buying any. And we talked about that on a Friday live stream. And, now here we are. It's up, 150% since I said that. And that was not that long ago. That was I feel like that was within the last 6 months. So I missed that one. Let's just say that was a gigantic miss on my part. But hopefully some of you guys caught that. That piece
and
of
I don't think it's over with, Tom.
For NVIDIA, I mean, I don't know what the answer is. I know that, they're selling chips like crazy. The amount they get for these chips is unbelievable. So, but by the same token, I mean, they're on the brink of being the largest company in the world. Is the demand for these chips going to continue? I think most people would say yes. Just a miscellaneous note, for some unknown reason, this isn't the right one, DigiHost put out their May operational update today. So May's not even over, but I guess they wanted to be first. They usually do it on the first day of the month, but now they've jumped the gun. But they did say, let's see here. Between self-mining and hosting, the company produced 50 Bitcoin. I'm just trying to compare month over month. Let's see if they said that the same way last month. Between self-mining and hosting, the company produced 85. So their 85 turned into 50. And the reason I bring that up is Marathon mined 850. So that would be like 850 turning into 500. But now we think that Marathon did more like 600 or 620. So I think you're going to see all these companies have a similar type of a journey. And this also highlights, this is between self-mining and hosting. You're now, you've got a company like DigiHost that's now only mining 50 Bitcoin a month. And that includes some that aren't even self-mined. So this is what I'm saying. Like, what's a company like this do going forward? How do they compete? To Robert Anderson's earlier comment, how's a company like this, what's their path from here? And, I would ask the same question about, here's my list of the ones that I think are a gigantic question mark. Like, where do they go from here? How do they survive? And if they do survive, what do they look like? And to me, I have that question. And again, this is not financial advice. This is just, my opinion. I think these are the companies that have question marks. Argo Blockchain, DigiHost, Stronghold, Gree, Mawson, and Any, which is Sphere 3D. And DMG. And some of these companies, their balance sheets are okay. Some of these companies are a train wreck. So I know there are big differences between those companies. But with all that said, I mean, what is a company that's mining 50 Bitcoin or 40 Bitcoin? Where are they going? Barry's asking for a poll. Would George live stream from the car if I can't see the whole thing? Sorry, I can only read half of the chat because I ruined my setup here, everybody. So my apologies.
Oh man, I want to know. I got to eat earlier. That's why I was like, dude.
And Gary said, I may pronounce this wrong. Joffrey Morphy, which was the CEO of CleanSpark, was doing a great job, of Bitfarms, was doing a great job at Bitfarms. Now he's in a lawsuit against them for breach of contract, something really wrong in the boardroom at Bitfarms. So that goes to what we were talking about. Is there something we don't know? Is that a part of why Riot maybe thinks they can sneak in here at the right time? And, at a time where Bitfarms is looking to, George, you mentioned they got to hire a high-quality CEO. Well, having an offer on the table to be bought out or potentially hostily taken over, how does that help them recruit a high-quality CEO in the middle of all of that? You know what I mean? So that's part of why
Well, yeah, I know, but if it's money,
they can offer
they need somebody to come in there for 4 months. That's
a tough one. It puts them in a tough spot. I think it's a part of why Riot went public with this, right? This was not announced to the public for a month. And then at some point they went public with it, and in that month subsequent to that is when the CEO got fired, which earlier than that, they announced they were going to transition the CEO and he was going to help, find the new CEO, et cetera, et cetera. Everybody was happy and friendly. Go ahead.
I'm surmising this statement, but I think the old CEO was working with Jason to make a deal.
And the board maybe didn't like that.
Yeah, the board did not like that.
I mean, that could be. Maybe that was the big difference of opinion, is that he thought that this was in the shareholders' best interest. And again, George and I are just speculating here, trying to figure out what in the heck is going on.
Something like that happened, because how people that started a company get, and they don't, they're very
breaking up, George.
So, and they're not, you know, factual driven by numbers.
Oh, there we go. You're back. You were breaking up for a second, but you're back.
Ew.
DEFCON 2 said DigiHost is approaching a cliff. So are the rest that you
Did you
mentioned.
hear me that one?
Go ahead. We can hear you now. Or maybe you can't hear us.
Yeah, they're all. What about Gree? How much longer for Gree, Tom? I don't think I can.
I mean, Gree is the one that out of all of these, Gree is the one that to me is in the toughest shape. So I don't know. I mean, Fred, the CEO of Marathon, basically said he thought
Would
several
anybody
of these
even buy 'em
companies.
out?
I don't see buying. I don't see that as a viable. They might buy their pieces. Why buy them out when you can let them go out of business and, you know, buy the pieces and parts without the baggage that comes along with it? That's and Fred so much
Right.
has said he expected several of these companies to not make it to the end of the year. So, you know, whether it's the list I said or some other ones. Gary saying Ben Gagnon is worth more than $2.30 just alone by himself. So, all right, you got any other thoughts, George?
Does Ben still work for the company?
Ben still works for the company. Yes. That would
So
be a
did
big
you know he moved to Puerto Rico?
No. Where is that inside
Okay, yeah.
information?
It was an interesting conversation I had with Isaac. I can't confirm it or deny it.
You could neither confirm nor deny.
He said it was he said it had something to do with taxes.
Ah.
Which, I mean, it makes sense to me.
I mean, for now, Ben's with the company and, you know, they've been doing their thing. So, you know, until further notice.
But I don't know if Jason could listen to Ben. That's the other problem.
I don't know. Hopefully he's getting advice from somebody because, you know, as we've talked many times, Riot and they mentioned on their conference call, they got rid of a bunch of machines that, you know, they gave up on, that they weren't operating according to what they thought the specs were going to be, and they were underperforming, and they're swapping out those machines, and they expect to improve their operational efficiency. But I guess, right, the market will believe it when they see it, because here Riot sits at under $10 a share at the moment.
All right. Well, it was a good stream, Tom.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody. Thank you to all the members, a special thanks. And, of course, to all the subscribers. Thanks to everybody who smashed the like button. Enjoy your weekend. So today was not the greatest day, but really all we did was go back to where we were on Wednesday as far as Bitcoin goes. So let's hope for a good weekend, and let's hope for a good June. And we will see everybody next week. Enjoy your weekend. Have a good night. Thanks, George.
See you guys.